Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Good morning to you. Hey. Welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. And today is awesome. It is. Did you wake up? I did. It's awesome. Today is spectacular. Hey, did you wake up feeling darn good? Spectacular. I'm just saying, today I am focusing on everything that feels wonderful. And being here with you is one of those things. So good morning to you. Welcome to today's show. It is another Illuminated Conversation. Now, I had put in the promo yesterday that we were going to talk about why do families fall apart when someone dies in the family. I thought, but then I had two other topics. I was like, well, we could talk about the war in Ukraine. And then I was like, well, we could talk about inflation, right? And I was like, because I filled up this morning, right? Because I have to go speak tomorrow. And then again Friday. So I'm gonna be on the road. So I said, well, I have a quarter tank. Let me go and fill up. $66. And I still had a quarter tank. I was like, Lord Jesus, what is going on? So and then I was listening to NPR radio this morning, Money Talks, and they were talking about the inflation. So I was like, maybe that. No. But then something hit me, because you all know how I get when my birthday's coming up. And it's coming up 4th of July. I'll be 60, big 60. Now, to me, that is just a wonderful, wonderful thing for a lot of reasons, but primarily because for so many years, I didn't think I would make 40. I really didn't. And then I didn't think I would live to be 50. I just felt like I'd done so much shit to myself early in life that you know, this is what I'd earned. This is what I was thinking, right? So anyway, now that I find myself, I'm over that. Okay, I'm 60. I ain't gonna wait till I'm 90 to go, well, dang, I lived longer than I thought I was gonna. Too bad I didn't figure out what to do with it. No. So everything, the aging process. I always, you always hear people talking about aging gracefully, right? And so I was like, okay, so I'm not gonna be like acting as if old people shit shouldn't happen to me. You know what I mean? I do my best. Well, I could do better, but I do something. As far as going to the gym and doing my best to eat healthy, but still living life. I'm not trying to be in a prison, if you know what I mean. Right? You get older, you feel like, well, shit, I deserve to do this every now and then, or do just live, right? So anyway, so I focus on those things, and I also focus, like for instance, arthritis. I already know it's a thing in my family, right? And I've had a knee replacement and all this stuff. But like, I was trying to put the hose on to play my new power washer the other day, right? So I was putting the hose on that sprocket thing, spigot, and yeah, I just could not get it to thread. And it was like, and I had to use both hands, and I was like, they just don't make these things like they used to. Them things still made the same way. They thread and they unthread. It was these hands that were not cooperating. Let's put it that way. So I had to really stop for a second. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to pivot here. Without panicking. What the hell? Oh, arthritis. What next? Buttons, right? Which I already deal with. So anyway, say good morning to Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo, my sidekick to hear every morning. So anyway, I'm drinking a coffee that's called some kind of waffle. Again, tastes nothing like a waffle. I don't know. Smelled kind of good though, so maybe that's why. Are the names on coffee primarily for the scent as opposed to the taste, or the taste as opposed to the scent? Put in the comments. What do you think? Oh yeah, and that's the Bella purpose. It just means I'm having fun. So listen, here's what I decided. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is, excuse me, still coughing a little post-COVID. I'm in my second week of testing negative. Okay, so listen, here we go. All right, so I'm getting close to 60, right? So I start thinking about all the stuff, and I start thinking about, I don't just plan and manifest for today or tomorrow. I don't. I've done this for a minute now. I manifest for the next 100 years. Seriously. Just like I don't manifest money. I manifest abundance. I want more of everything that serves me. Duh. See, that's what I say about adapting to the lazy man's ideals. Just get there. Get there. What's the quickest, most sound way, informed decision way for me to get from point A, which is where I'm at, to point B, which is everything right after where I'm at? When you think about it, that's point B. Moment by moment, just like the Doobie Brothers said. Can I get an amen? Okay, so started thinking about, Plus, I just went and visited my mom's grave. My brother, all that stuff is up in here. And went through COVID. And I had that Miami exotic stomach flu when I went down there. So I was like, every time something happens to me, I'm like, I hate not being able to do what I like to do every day. So as soon as I get back to the me, where I can do what I like to do every day, I am gratitude from the rooter to the tutor. I'm not playing. I'm like, the older you get, more grateful you become. You learn not to let go of gratitude ever, if you can help it. Think about that for a minute. So anyway, I found some stories of people who were clinically dead. Okay, for one woman it's 11 minutes, the other guy was 20 minutes, and I thought we could listen to their stories, right? Because here's why. Not because of fear of death and dying and all that, but I really believe, you guys, I do, for me, because it's been shown to me, and I know it to be true. Here it is. Every day when we die to those things that do not serve us, those are the hardest deaths of all. Jason Cisneros taught me that. Excuse me. That's why he wears that skull ring, to remind himself to die to something today that does not serve me, right? And so here's what happened. When I was in Atlanta about a month ago now, receiving Dr. Lauren. So we're in this room, just the graduates and the chancellor of the school. No volunteers, nobody. I think I told y'all this. So anyway, she comes in and she starts talking. She walks around the room where we're lining the room, right? And she just reminds us that look around you. You were the ones who, not so long ago, didn't know if you'd have a roof over your head the next day. Look around you. You are the ones who thought once upon a time you wouldn't live to see the sunrise. Look around you. And she just went on and on. And then she got to the point she goes, now look around you. Even with all of that stuff that you've lived through, suddenly, every one of you has become a doctor. And I'm not kidding you. I was transported to a place where this is what I saw. I was on a bridge and I saw to the left all of the life I had lived from the very beginning. And they slapped me on my little black ass, right? From there up to where I was at that moment. And there were panels. It wasn't a wall because it felt like outside, but I could see murals of scenes from my journey, my fondest memories, my happiest moments, my greatest accomplishments, the ones that I didn't even know how it happened. Those were the ones. And I saw it right in front of me that moment, getting that doctoral degree, which was coming up in the next half hour. But I saw that moment in that moment, if that makes sense. So at that moment, I looked to the right, which I know represents innately, I knew the rest of my journey. Found it interesting that I was in the vision right in the middle, right? So that was good. So I wasn't afraid, like if I was one step from the other side, but oh Lord, does that mean I'm getting ready to die? Right. So I was glad to see I was in the middle, just keeping it real. So then I heard the voice say to me, memorize this moment in your journey. Memorize it to a cellular level, Lauren. All of these panels are your fondest memories, and by the time you complete this bridge, you will have filled it with more panels of more memories, just like this one. And when it is time for you to cross to what is next, you will get to see every one of these panels again. And we want you to know that today, what you see before you, you will see it again. And I am telling you, it was just amazing. It was honestly one of those things I will never forget. And do you know, for decades, I used to for instance, go to a church, right, to visit because I was a singer and I would sing at all kinds of different churches, but especially when I go to the Black churches and they'd have people that would get up and testify. Okay. And there would always be that old person who'd say, I remember the day my bride, Lucille, that's my mom. I wonder why I chose her name. Came into my life. It was at a church picnic. She had on a yellow dress, and they give you all these details. Such beautiful, vibrant details that you cannot help but feel like you're right there on the riverbank, watching him watch her. And I always was just so envious. And I'd say, oh God, I hope one day that I have a memory that is so vivid that time has not dulled my visual of it, my experience with it at all. And I have those moments now. And so I found some interesting ones. And how much time we got? Okay, perfect. So this first one, I don't know how much of it we'll watch, but this first one, I think his name is Dutton, and he died for 20 minutes. And he never talked about this much over the years until recently. And what I love about his, why I thought it would be a great one to share, it had more views than any of the other stories. And it's the most recent one. It has like 40 million, 18 million views. Okay. So I thought, wow, let's take a look at that. So take a look at this.
I'm super grateful and honored today to have Scott Drummond join us. The background story alone to why we're here today could be an interesting thing enough to talk about. How we ended up here, even that has affected me. But what we're going to actually talk about, I think, has the potential to really help a lot of people. And I'm so honored that you've agreed to be here today. There's moments in some people's lives where they have these big resets, their priorities shift or something big happens and it just changes everything. It seems like you've maybe had more than one of those moments in your life. And I've been honored enough to hear a little tiny bit of some of those, but it sounds like most people haven't heard some of these stories. So the one question I wanted to ask you is why now? Why did you feel like this was a good time to share some of these really kind of personal moments for you?
Well, the thing that kind of brought to mind was what's happening right now with the COVID-19. There's so many people out there that are afraid of what might happen to them. And for me, it's not a fear for me because of what I've gone through before with, passing away for about 20 minutes and seeing things that most people don't get to see. But what I started thinking about after talking to you on the trail that day was how people shouldn't be fearful of death. What it did for me when I was 28 years old was to kind of wake me up.
I just love this guy.
And find out where my values are and where I'm sitting with my family and where I am placed with my Father in heaven. At the time I was working for the government, I was working out of town and didn't spend a lot of time at home. And what it did for me was it brought me closer to my family. Here I am, almost 67 years old, and I've talked very little about this because it's meant a lot to me, and it's, other than telling maybe a couple of family members and of course my wife, no one knows about what happened. In my mind, it is very vivid every day. I was up on the ski slopes in Park City and having a great time. We were skiing all day, and I was in the lift line, and all of a sudden a lady came down and she had her poles going every which way and ran into us in the ski line. And well, needless to say, I skied the rest of the day. When we got through, I took my glove off and out of the car, and my thumb was hanging straight down, and it knocked my thumb completely out of the socket, and I knew I had to have something done. It started to hurt once I got into that warm vehicle.
You skied the whole day with your thumb hanging around?
Yes. Yeah. I knew I had to get something done. So we scheduled surgery and got prepped. And what I remember most vividly was sitting in the operating room, and the doctor put a sheet between me and my right hand, and my right thumb was tore down, and there was a nurse in there, and the nurse in there made mention to the doctor that she'd never done a tourniquet before and didn't know quite how to change the valves, and the doctor said that he'd talk her through it.
Wow. Wow.
Well, in a situation that you put a tourniquet on right here, and you have two valves. One is to tighten it up, one's to loosen the pressure. And what happened was both of them were tightened to begin with, and the nurse undid the one valve, and the pressure started coming back on again. And she opened the second valve and forgot to close the first valve. And all of a sudden, I had a sensation of something going up my arm, it crossed into my heart. And next thing I knew, I was above my body watching the operation.
Oh my goodness.
What was unique about it was I wasn't by myself. I had someone right beside me watching. And I don't know if this is normal or not, but I watched every stitch that was put into my thumb. I watched the nurse go running out of the room saying that I killed him, and which was, I'm sure, put a lot of fear in her mind.
Oh.
What she did didn't work.
Oh. Oof.
But I sat, and even though I never did see the person next to me, I sat right next to him as if I knew that person. And everything was done through the mind. There was no talking. I could hear what the doctor was doing, but I could never hear mouth to mouth what was being said with the person that was next to me. And we sat there and watched the operation. And I can't tell you how long, because there was no clock on the wall, or I didn't have a watch on. We watched how serious the doctor was about finishing his surgery on my thumb. And I watched him cut me here and tear a tendon out. I saw him wrap it around my thumb, and I started watching him put me back together.
Wow.
Something that was supposed to be a very simple operation ended up being not so good in the end. We sat there for a little while, and I can remember I was sitting above. I was laying down, and how you lay out with your arm like this, with the sheet right here. And I was sitting right up here above watching the surgery. And then in my mind, I was told, okay, it's time to go.
Oh.
And I remember so vividly, I could never look back. I was instructed never to look back again. And the next thing I knew, and it was like a twinkle of an eye, I was standing in a field where the person that was with me was right next to me, but I couldn't see him. And I looked over to the left, and there was some great big tall trees. And I remember they were the most unusual looking trees, a long trunk with the leaves up on top. And there were lots of them. And then to the right of that, which would be still to the left of me, was wildflowers, just beautiful wildflowers. And they were up about to my waist. And I just remember looking and seeing how beautiful the flowers are, because it's something that I really enjoy is yard work and gardening. And I just remember the vivid colors were just magnificent. And then in front of me and to the right was tall grass that came up probably just about my waist high. And I was just standing there. And the next thing I knew, the person that had escorted me there was not there anymore, and I was by myself.
Under investigation for corruption.
Hold on.
Is that really what we want in our member of Congress?
Ads.
But it was so peaceful. Everything was really, what I remember so vividly was I could see a long ways to my left. I could see a long ways to my right. I wasn't allowed to look back. But in front of me was at the time, it seemed like a cloud. It was just a white cloud. And
What do
All
you
of a
think
sudden
that
in my
was?
mind, I started watching a video of my life, and I saw it from the day that I was born until I was 28 years old. Everything that I had done in my life, good, bad, it didn't matter,
Ooh.
because what mattered was that's what I was being judged on, was what I had done. And I remember some of it hurt, some of it made me feel good, but it was what it was. I had no one there to argue with, no one to say, I didn't do that. No, I did it. But there was a lot of things at that time in my life that I wasn't really as on track on my life as I should have been. It was at that time in my life, I was working for the government, for the Postal Service at the time, and it was all about getting ahead, making enough money. And I was working, I remember at the time I was working in Jackpot, Nevada, which is way out in the middle of nowhere. And knowing that everything that I was doing was for myself and not for my family. And I think probably out of all of that I watched, it was, some was good, some was bad, but I knew that I had to do better with my life. I remember all of a sudden just being so peaceful. After it was all over, it was real.
Wow.
Nothing, there's no fake stuff. There was no, you didn't do this or I didn't do that. I did it. It was all about me. And what was so vivid was it was in my mind. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't negotiating. It was all in my mind that I was visualizing. And when I got through, I went, it's over, I knew that I was dead, and I knew I was moving on. I was instructed through my mind, and that person wasn't next to me, but in my mind, to get up and start working forward. And I walked up to this white cloud, and an arm came through, only about this much. And it just came through, and I'll never forget it. It was an arm that was strong. It was somebody that had worked either in the farming industry, where his arms were big and his hands, I remember, were strong. They were bigger than my hands. They were a lot more meaty. And he reached out like this, and I reached towards his hand, and he said, "It is not yet your time. You have more things yet to do." He pulled his arm back through, and I didn't see it again because of the cloud that was in front of me. And at that time, I went back into my body. The doctor said that there was a war going on inside of my body. The war was that I did not want to come back because it was so peaceful. I remember him saying, "What was going on? Why was you all over the place on that table?" And I told him that I didn't want to come back. It was too beautiful where I'd been. And come to find out, I had a paper on my chest, and it had pronounced me dead for 20 minutes. And I'd been gone. But I was gone in the most peaceful place that I could have ever went.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. I don't know about you, but I find that very encouraging. Very encouraging. Listen, we're going to take a brief break right here, as we always do. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at a different experience. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Oh my goodness. Welcome back. You guys saw I was still stuck thinking about our man who passed away. Sorry, I dropped some orange peel. Passed away for 20 minutes. What a beautiful description. And so we're talking today about dying daily to things that don't serve us and how it affects the transition, which inevitably waits for all of us when we transition from what is to what is next, and how that should be, I believe, one of the greatest parts of living. Think about that for a minute. So we just watched a video about a gentleman who had passed away for 20 minutes. And now here's another woman who I actually found hers first, where she was gone for 11 minutes and then comes back. Let's hear how her story went in comparison to what we just saw.
They called a code and they come running in. I was above my body. I could see them doing.
Well, that's consistent.
I could see them, all the nurses around. I could smell the most beautiful flowers I've ever smelled.
That's consistent.
And then I heard music. When I opened my eyes, I knew where I was. I knew I was in heaven.
In 2019, Charlotte Holmes was having a routine checkup with her cardiologist when her blood pressure spiked to 234 over 134.
My heart doctor said, "You're not going home. We're going to put you in the hospital. We've got to get that blood pressure down. It's got to come down. You're having another stroke, or you're going to have a heart attack." They put me in a room and started an IV just to, try to get that blood pressure down.
Charlotte's husband, Danny, stayed with her while the hospital staff tended to her.
Immediately, they called this code, and everybody started rushing in. They just started working on her. And my feelings was, I thought, well, I'm wondering if I'm even going to be able to bring her home.
Charlotte began describing things to Danny.
She started talking about the flowers. Well, I looked around and I knew there was no flowers in that room. That's when I knew she was not in this world when that was going on.
Charlotte's heart stopped. For the next 11 minutes, she was clinically dead.
I was above my body. I could see Danny standing in the corner. He had backed up. I could see them, all the nurses around. Then I opened my eyes. I looked around at the beauty. I could see the trees. I could see the grass. And everything was swaying with the music. Because everything in heaven worships God. I can't convey to you what heaven looked like because it's so above what you can even imagine. A million times.
Charlotte says she was led into heaven by angels.
There's no fear. It's like pure joy. When the angels takes over, there's no fear. When you're going home, it's pure joy.
She says she then began to recognize deceased family members.
I seen my mom. I seen my dad. I seen my sister. I seen family members standing behind. I seen saints of old. See, they didn't look old. They didn't look sick. None of them wore glasses. They looked like they were in their 30s. But yet it says in the scriptures, we will be known as we were known. I knew them there in their new bodies. They looked wonderful.
What Charlotte saw after that, however, shocked her.
Standing behind my mom and dad was a light so bright. I couldn't look upon it. I mean, it was so bright. But I knew it was my Heavenly Father. Seen a toddler. And that toddler, I couldn't understand. And I can remember thinking, who is this? And I heard my father say to me, my Heavenly Father say to me, it's your child. I lost that child. I was 5.5 months pregnant. I can remember them holding the baby up and saying, Charlotte, it's a boy. Then he was gone. So when I seen this toddler, I said, God, how is that possible? He says, they continue to grow in heaven.
Oh.
But there's no time. It's eternity. So 48 years, and here my child, our child, is a toddler.
Then God chose to show her one more thing.
God took me to the edge of hell. And I looked down, and the smell, and then rotten flesh.
Ew.
That's what it smelled like, and screams. After seeing the beauty of heaven, the contrast to seeing hell is almost unbearable. And he says, I show you this to tell you. If some of them do not change their ways, this is where they shall reside. I heard my father say, you have time to go back and share.
As quickly as she had gone to heaven, Charlotte's spirit came back.
I felt myself being drawn into my body. I felt the pain where I hadn't felt pain. I felt the sorrow. Danny said that they come running in and your eye blinked. And he said, I knew then I was going to get to bring you home.
Charlotte made a full recovery and was released from the hospital.
Wow. Totally different, because the other guy doubled the amount of time, didn't say anything about a view to hell. Interesting. So I say this. I really believe that our journeys, you know how we're promised to not be given more than we can handle. So I believe what we believe, that's just me, because think about a Hindu, a Baptist, whatever. I believe that whatever you ascribed to is I don't know. What do you think? What do you all think? I do want to switch gears here as we get closer to the end. One of my favorite books. I have two favorite books. One, of course, my most favorite of all, to the nth degree, it's the Four Agreements. I couldn't live without them. I didn't live without them. I survived. But once I started ascribing to those principles, I truly began to live. So the Four Agreements, but then also this one. And this book came to me early in my ascension. within this journey that I now find myself within, the Motivation Manifesto, 9 declarations to claim your personal power, written by the wonderful Brendan Burchard. So I've read from this book many times, and it is required reading, just as the 4 agreements, for all those people that coach with me. So this is how seriously these books, this content, these stories, these clues mean to me. This is how much they mean to me. So the very last declaration number 9 in this book is entitled, We Shall Slow Time. So I wanted to read a little bit from it. Henry Miller, here's a quote from Henry Miller. The aim of life is to live, and to live means to be aware, joyously, drunkenly, serenely, divinely aware. Love it. Okay. So here's what Brendan says. He says, life is meant to be a vibrant, deeply felt, growing mosaic of meaningful moments. This makes me think of the murals I mentioned at the top of the hour. It is to be a grand, fully engaged, and unconditionally committed love affair with our daily experiences. I got to read that again. Think about it. Daily, this is possible. It is to be a grand, fully engaged, and unconditionally committed love affair with our daily experiences, which ties into that saying you hear, count it all joy. Right? So we are supposed to feel this and sense this, to engage with whatever appears in front of us with awareness and with enthusiasm, joyfully unwrapping the gifts that fate has chosen to bring. We are not supposed to miss this moment. Absolutely not. We were not destined to go barreling through life half numb, unaware of our senses and surroundings, deaf and blind to the magical qualities of the moment. This day is to be enjoyed like a pause at a cool stream during summer's heat. Even in darker times, we should look around us with awe, taking in the beautiful scenes and small wonders that surely abound, fascinated even with any hint of hope that we find within the darkness. Like staring into a moonlit field alive with a million silent fireflies. We are not supposed to miss this moment. Our brain was not built for this frenzy, forced to focus on everything yet nothing, sped up and buzzed out by syrups and stimulants, crammed with so much random negative information and so many pointless tasks that there's never a singular focal point to immerse in or achieve or to celebrate. We are not supposed to miss this moment. Our bodies were not designed for the atrophy of a sedentary life, choked full of laziness and sloth, and hours sitting behind desks, robbed of the pleasures of touch and movement, and the blessed physical exhaustion from a good day's work, actually doing something or actually building something. We are not supposed to miss this moment. Our soul was not meant to be trapped in the past, weighted down by futile attachments to long-standing stories, not to be caged by old angers and regrets and unable to sense and soar in the white and clean emotional expanse of the now. We are not supposed to miss this moment. Our families do not desire a life of frenzied urgency. They do not want our absence in mind or body to be their only memory of us. We are not supposed to miss this life, but we do, all frazzled, stressed, and stripped away from the moment. The cost? It is immense. So many moments blurred by speed and worry and panic, creating the catastrophe otherwise known as a joyless life. we can experience so much more of life. It takes very little focus and effort to increase our awareness of the gift of each day, to insert more depth and feeling and meaning into life again. Let us make that our aim. We must shift our focus away from the chaos and direct it back to the true order of the universe, which gives us unrestricted freedom and peace in this very moment. We must breathe once more. We must drink in our surroundings and let our bodies feel again. We must connect our heart to our life, putting hope and passion and love back into the efforts of the hour. This requires only a new deployment of our attention, time, and energy, a different intention and pace to life. We must slow it all down so that we can feel it once more, enjoy it once more, live it, perhaps for the very first time. This is the moment to finally begin to enjoy life's blessings. So therefore, let us declare, we shall slow time. I'm going to just let that hang out there for a minute. So let's wrap it all together, shall we? When we started, we saw Mr. Drummond, who had passed away for 20 minutes, and it was clear the emotion. And also look at how many people were drawn to watch his story. That's not by accident. That's the law of attraction. Those are the clues. People, we all live what we live so that we can leave it where others can find it. Nothing, absolutely nothing is ever about just one thing. I, for one, am finding as I strive and attempt to age gracefully, which means really has nothing, in my opinion, to do with wrinkles or the lack thereof. It has nothing to do with anything other than understanding that one day I'll look at everything that I've ever done. I'll experience again everything that I've ever been. And no matter what, it will all somehow make sense. If at the end of all of that, or the beginning, as the case, however we choose to look at it, is about that moment, because it was always about each of these moments that lead to that moment. I think it's because it's meant to tell us that no matter what, you will get it. What remains to be seen is when, So, again, don't miss this moment. Don't miss this opportunity known as the now, known as today, to die to something that you know does not serve you. That is so crucial for all of us, because the longer we, did I just come up with a word? Disacknowledge. As long as we do not acknowledge that certain things in our world are not serving us, it's a pretty risky place to be. Why? Because I believe, I've been told, for my journey anyway, Lauren, don't let things that don't serve you just run rampant inside your world. And I remember asking, well, why? And the voice said to me, because the longer you allow that, you run the risk of one day serving them. And I don't want that. Been there, done that, hated it. Okay. So, I just love this though. Do you ask yourself, How is it changing? You know, when we were teenagers, we thought this day was a million years away. And suddenly here we are, no matter where that is. And, you know, I believe that we should share with each other how we feel, almost like a wellness check with each other. Check in from time to time. Are you happy? Today, are you happy? And if not, why not? You know, I remember Lucille, my birth mom, said to me, right at the beginning, it must have been in the first month or two after finding her after 32 years. And I had started dealing with some depression for various reasons. And I remember she came up to me one day and she goes, "Why are you sitting here like that?" And I said, "I'm just feeling kind of depressed today." She goes, "You know, you can control that. And I don't mean through medicine." She said that right off the rip. It's like, "Oh, yeah, it's easier said than done." She goes, "No, it isn't." She goes, "You could sit right where you are for the next 24 hours, Lauren, and just turn your head and start listing all the things you see that you can be grateful for." She goes, "You don't have to move or go anywhere, so you don't have to get up. And when you can't get up, do it from where you find yourself. Just start looking for everything that is right in your world." She goes, "I guarantee you, before you finish that list, that day will have come and gone." And she was right. And so you guys just remember, when we come together and we fulfill the promise known as two or more coming together like we do here, and we do in many ways throughout our day. I believe, for me personally, what I love most about that opportunity, that gift of fellowship, if you will, is because the only times in my journey, truly, that I almost lost it, that I almost believed the lies, checked out, gave up, cashed it in, was when something convinced me through lies and deceit that I was all alone, that I would always be all alone. And so I learned early, whatever you do, don't let anything convince you that you're ever all alone. You're not. We're not. I learned that early when I was a little kid. And like you hear me say all the time, they thought I had imaginary friends. I would hear them talking about it. Caseworkers and different people at school, the teachers and stuff saying, "Oh yeah, he has a lot of imaginary friends. Don't worry about that. You'll hear him talking to them." And they weren't imaginary at all. They're here with me right now. Every one of them. So I'm never alone. So, yeah, the Motivation Manifesto, one of the greatest, most poetic, powerful pieces to ever find its way into my life personally. I keep it close. What are you doing to keep things within reach that help keep you grounded? What is it? Drop it in. I got a thing here. Where is it? Here it is. Daily grounding. Very important, very important, very important. I don't care what it is. If you get up, meditate, if you get up and you just stand and you drink your tea or your coffee or your juice or your water, and you look at the sky and you look at the sun, you look at the trees, you look at the flowers, whatever it is, start every day with a sense of renewal known as rejoicing, known as being grateful. And share that with someone. I guarantee it, you guys. You know, I'm almost 60, and not once have I ever opened my front door, looked out, and there was a line that wrapped around the corner of people waiting to remind me how wonderful I am. How do I do that? How do I find that every day without it having to come through the validation of others? Simple. I do what I just described. I stand and I'm grateful. I stand in awe of all that is greater than myself. And it makes me feel absolutely wonderful about myself because I'm here and I'm the only one out of all the wonderful things I look at, out of all the wonderful reminders of how good the universe and God is. Out of all those things, never forget, you and I are the only ones who can speak. Take that with you. I'll meet you tomorrow out front on the front porch for another wonderful time together. Tomorrow, Adrian Sterling, a young actor. This kid is phenomenal. Wait till you see his latest movie. We're going to talk about that and why I proclaim and predict that one day he'll be bigger than Denzel Washington. You'll find out that tomorrow and a whole bunch more. Get out there today, won't you? Live in this moment, which is now. Be grateful, love yourself, and give that love to someone else. Be the best you can be. Be the dream that you wish for the world. I will see you tomorrow, God willing, out front. Have the best day ever. God bless you. Thanks for sharing your morning with me. Bye-bye.